Platformers have a lot of variety in today's world, especially in the indie scene. There are a lot of cute platformers like Fez and hardcore difficulty games like Super Meat Boy. Today we're diving into a platformer that was requested of me back when it was first announced during a Nintendo Direct. Let's dive into a little platformer all around speed and colorful environments. Here is my review of Bzzzt for the Nintendo Switch. This story is about a group of scientists under attack by the nefarious Bzzzt, who's convinced they are creating weapons and wants them for himself. You play as ZX, a robotic body housing an AI that is tasked with helping to rescue the scientists and stop Bzzzt from unleashing an evil robot upon the world. As a story, it's kind of cute. You don't really get that many cutscenes, but it's a neat little story with a mustache-twirling villain and a lot of little comedy bits here and there. When it comes to gameplay, this is a 2D platformer with speedrun elements thrown into the mix. As you play its levels, you gather collectibles and avoid hazards to get to the finish as quickly as you can. With main progression, you play through 52 story levels, each containing platform hazards and lots of spare part collectibles floating around the stage. The goal is just to reach the end and move on to the next level, but there is an incentive to not only collect all spare parts before you get to the end, but also get it done in record time. The gamer has a timer going whenever you go into each level, and it's very much built around being there for speedrunners, with leaderboards constantly updating when you finish stages, throwing your completion times up and letting you compare with the top speedrunners for those levels. With it always connecting online for leaderboards, I did want to throw it out there that this game is perfectly playable offline. Sometimes it'll pull a pop-up when trying to sync those leaderboards, but throw your Switch into airplane mode and it won't even cause a problem. Actually going through the stages is remarkably simple. You start out with just a jump, moving around hazards and collecting the spare parts, easily reaching the end with all collectibles intact. But as the game goes on, you'll get upgrades that add mechanics to the game. Double jump, dashing, turning into energy to fly through hard to reach areas, and as you get more powers, the more complicated the levels get with hazards and other interactable things, like switches to temporarily open doors or having to do intricate jumping and dashing to get past hazards that seem very chaotic at first glance. A lot of stuff in the latter does require exact timing. The levels are pretty addicting though. They're designed well, plus the flow is so quick and the levels are short enough that it's incredibly easy to just pick up and clear a stage in less than a minute, moving on to the next and repeating the process. There is difficulty here, especially in the latter half of the story levels, but even failing and restarting those levels never really caused me concern or frustration. It feels very much like a game where you're meant to fail, getting a little further on each attempt until you finally get it and reach the end. It actually felt nice as I repeated some levels over and over, and when I finally reached the end for the first time, I'd practically mastered the entire stage, going through it so fast with speedrun-like efficiency from having learned the stage through my retries. And I think that's a great aspect of this game. While there is an easy mode you can toggle, letting you get hit 3 times per level without having to restart it versus the normal modes you get hit and you die, I never really got frustrated by this. The only time I ever really was frustrated was fighting the final boss, and that was just from the sheer number of attempts it took me. But even then, it was maybe a dozen tries on the final boss versus each stage only taking me about half of that for the trickier levels. And even the final boss was to the point where I was doing it with such efficiency, I was practically a master at the entire battle when I beat it for the first time. I said it before, but it just felt a lot of fun with how the game is designed. Getting to beating something for the first time and feeling like a master at that level at the same time is very different from most platformers I've played, and it was a great feeling every time it happened. That brings us to content and length, which isn't a gigantic amount. Completing the 52 story levels can easily be done within a couple of hours, but there is a fair amount you can unlock by looking for secrets. The 24 bonus stages, for example, can be unlocked by looking for secrets and trying to get trophies. Basically collecting all spare parts and beating the stage within the speedrun trophy time. It certainly depends on how much you enjoy this game, and a few hours might not seem like a lot for a $15 game, but what the game has here I've found to be a lot of fun. Next up is presentation, and the game looks great. It uses a colorful retro pixel art style and it looks very good. The edges of everything are smooth and it looks extremely colorful and fun. There aren't a whole lot of jagged edges on much of anything outside of the little pixel corners that are clearly there on purpose. If you add in the very laid back and catchy soundtrack, it provides a fun little colorful environment as you play. Performance is great as well. The game plays at a smooth 60 frames per second during all of its stages in both docked and handheld modes. It's a buttery smooth experience from start to finish. That brings us to battery life, which is a fair amount. This game gives the original and light models a battery range of about 3 to 4 hours, while the V2 and OLED models get about 5.5 to 7 hours. In conclusion, this game brings fast-paced and bite-sized platforming to the Nintendo Switch. Now on the downside, the game will likely only take a couple of hours to clear, and 100% of the stages probably won't take you past 3.5 to 4 hours total. But what this game has in it is well designed and a ton of fun to play and master. The latter just sort of happening without you even realizing it. It might not be a huge time sink, but it's a great little platformer to play on the go. Reviews to go rates Bzzzt for the Nintendo Switch a 9 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.